My child, there are moments when I try to whisper through the noise of your life, but the volume of fear, of doubt, of distraction drowns my voice before it reaches your heart. And 3 days ago, I sent you something sacred, something small, something wrapped in ordinary skin that carried extraordinary weight. It did not look like a divine escape. It looked like a simple suggestion, a passing thought, a strange dream, a call you didn't answer, a voice note you forgot to open, a gut feeling you silenced, a red flag you reasoned away. It was a message layered in stillness, an answer hidden in plain sight, and I watched as you passed it by, not because you don't love me, not because you're disobedient, but because you've been worn down by years of false alarms, manipulations, empty promises, and prayers that seem to evaporate into silence. You've been conditioned to believe that divine things must look dramatic to be real. But I do not always speak through storms, I speak through science. And that message was your sign. That moment 3 days ago when your spirit tensed but you couldn't explain why, when you felt that strange nudge to check your inbox or revisit that conversation or sit still and pray before saying yes, that was me. I placed a warning, a window, and a whisper in your path, and even though you missed it, even though you turned away, I need you to know it is not too late. But you must understand this: the longer you ignore my voice, the louder the consequences will become. That door you almost walked through, the one that felt slightly off but didn't seem serious, that was not a missed opportunity. It was a misdirection. You prayed for freedom, for clarity, for release, and I answered, but the answer didn't come in a flash of lightning, it came in a subtle, sacred check in your spirit. I need you to retrace your steps. Think carefully about that moment 3 days ago. Who contacted you? What was offered? What decision felt small but hasn't sat right in your gut ever since? I'm not just trying to pull you away from danger, I'm trying to pull you into purpose. That message, that divine warning you ignored, was not to embarrass you or shame you, it was to redirect you before the trap fully formed. Because what you couldn't see was the spirit behind it, the energy cloaked in charm, the false peace wrapped in manipulation, the familiar voice carrying an unfamiliar agenda. That path would have delayed you. That connection would have drained you. That agreement would have shifted your destiny by inches at first, but miles over time. And I love you too much to stay silent while you walk into spiritual sabotage dressed like opportunity. You asked me to open your eyes, and I did, but you blinked. And now I am speaking again, loudly, through this message. I want you to go back to that moment. I want you to sit with it, to write it down, to bring it to me in prayer. Because what felt like a coincidence was actually a covenant in disguise. The phone call you missed. The job you hesitated to accept. The person you suddenly felt uneasy around. The deal that sounded too good to be true. These were not accidents. They were alerts. And just because you ignored them does not mean I am done helping you. But this is your moment to listen. This is your moment to admit that not all delays are demonic, some are divine. That the reason you didn't feel peace wasn't fear, it was discernment. I have been training your ears to hear me, your heart to trust me, your steps to align with me, but this can only work if you stop brushing off my interventions as imagination. My voice doesn't always come in thunder, it comes in the pause before the yes, in the doubt before the handshake, in the tension behind their smile. That message you ignored was your exit ramp from a situation that looks fine now, but would have cost you deeply later. And I am still trying to save you. But to be saved, you must obey. You must slow down enough to remember what you dismissed, and this time, honor it. I don't want you to miss your way out again. You keep wondering why things feel off even though everything on the outside seems stable. Why you feel tension in your chest when their name lights up your phone. Why your spirit resists the very thing your mind keeps rationalizing as safe. My child, I am here to tell you that this unrest is not confusion, it is protection. 3 days ago, I tried to intercept a plan against your peace, and though it may have looked like just a message or a delay or an interruption, what you don't know is that I was rerouting you away from something far more dangerous than your emotions could detect. You are not being overly sensitive, you are finally hearing me. That tightness in your chest, that unease that kept you from fully relaxing, that strange lack of enthusiasm about something you thought you wanted, That was my voice trying to speak to your soul in the only way you could still hear, through discomfort. Because I know how tired you are. I know you've been through cycles of hope followed by disappointment so often that when something feels off, you second guess it out of fear of missing a blessing. But not every opportunity is a blessing, and not every silence is a loss. Sometimes, the thing you begged me to bring is the very thing I have to take away for your survival. You prayed for elevation, and I am answering, but elevation cannot be built on deception, half-truths, or entanglements that poison your purpose in secret. That's what was hidden behind what you missed 3 days ago. You thought it was just a small exchange, a harmless conversation, or a minor connection, but in the spirit realm, it was a portal, one that could have shifted the course of your destiny. And yes, I allowed you to overlook it, not because I wanted you to fail, but because I wanted to show you what happens when you ignore your gift of discernment. You've been asking me to strengthen your hearing, your inner knowing, your spiritual instincts, and this was part of the training. The voice you silenced 3 days ago wasn't me turning away, it was me testing your attention. Because what I'm building for you next requires a version of you that no longer tolerates what threatens your alignment. It requires you to become sensitive to energy shifts, to stay grounded even when the opportunity is shiny, to say no even when everyone else says yes. You didn't recognize the trap because you still associate danger with darkness. But some of the most dangerous traps are wrapped in light. The message you missed didn't come from a stranger, it came from a spirit you already knew. Familiar, persuasive, flattering, urgent. But I was in the pause. I was in the slow response. I was in the hesitation that came out of nowhere. You think you missed a moment of progress, but I'm telling you, you dodged a moment of sabotage. What I have planned for you next cannot afford to be delayed by distractions wearing the costume of love, success, or support. And yes, even people who once meant well can become detours when they carry old versions of you that no longer match your mission. You felt it, didn't you? That strange inner nudge to wait, to not reply, to double-check, to ask me before moving. That was me, fighting to save your future. Because what I am about to release over your life is too costly to risk on anything that hasn't been purified through obedience. And even now, I am offering you a second chance to trust me. Go back. Look again. What door was opening that didn't feel right? What name popped into your inbox that shook your peace? What conversation felt rehearsed, too timed, too convenient? That wasn't fate. That was a test. And if you listen this time, you won't just avoid a mistake, you'll unlock a miracle that's been hovering over your life waiting for your surrender. But it must begin with you honoring your inner warning system, because I gave it to you for a reason. You've outgrown spiritual amnesia, child. You're not blind anymore. The message you ignored was your way out, and now, this message is your way back in. You keep thinking that missing that message was just coincidence, that the timing was bad, that you were too tired, too busy, too overwhelmed to respond, and I have let you believe that for a moment, because I needed you to observe what happens when you step away from your spiritual alignment. But now I must reveal something that will shift how you see everything that has happened since that message, whether it came through a voice, a phone, a dream, a face you didn't recognize but felt something strange about, was not just a moment. It was a warning wrapped in disguise, a test cloaked in comfort. And if you had said yes to it, if you had walked through that door, your soul would have entered a cycle I've already pulled you from once before. You were about to go back to what nearly broke you the last time. Not the same form, but the same pattern. And it's no accident that the pattern looked familiar. The voice felt gentle. The offer seemed kind. The opportunity looked like redemption. But I never send redemption in the form of what I already healed you from. I send it in the form of revelation, restoration, and elevation, not repetition. And yet, the enemy has studied you, child. He knows what voice you long to hear, what words you crave, what feelings you miss. So he disguised the detour as an answered prayer. That's why it sounded right, but something in your spirit whispered no. That whisper was me. And now I need you to stop feeling guilty for ignoring it. Stop second-guessing yourself because you didn't respond. Stop mourning a door that I had already sealed shut. That was your growth. That was your breakthrough. That was the version of you that now recognizes the difference between my hand and a counterfeit. You see, you've been asking me for clarity, but clarity only comes through contrast. I had to let something return, or at least resemble something you once wanted, so you could make a new decision with your upgraded wisdom. This is why you didn't feel peace about it. This is why your chest felt heavy when you were about to reply. This is why you hesitated before saying yes. I was in the hesitation. I was in the pause. I was in the stillness that saved you from saying yes to something that would have reopened every wound I already stitched closed. And child, I want you to know, you haven't missed your way out. You simply walked past the trap I set to prove that you're ready for more. You passed the test only heaven saw. While you were feeling unsure, confused, or guilty for not responding, the angels were already rejoicing. Because you chose healing over habit. You chose your future over a familiar past. And now I can trust you with what's next. Because if you had answered that call, responded to that message, said yes to that disguised opportunity, your elevation would have been delayed again, and your healing compromised. But instead, even unknowingly, you chose me. And I honor that. I honor that quiet yes you didn't speak out loud. I honor that broken place in you that still had the strength to say, "This doesn't feel right." You don't even know how powerful that moment was, but I do. And heaven saw it. That's why things are shifting now. That's why people are getting uncomfortable around you without you saying a word. That's why doors that once swung open easily are now sealed shut. I'm not punishing you, I'm protecting your path. Because from this point forward, only what is purified by obedience, by truth, by alignment, can come near you. And yes, it will feel lonely. Yes, it will feel like you're losing options. But I never needed you to have many. I only needed you to choose me. And when you chose not to answer what I didn't send, you cleared space for what I've been holding back until you were ready. So stop looking back with regret. Stop wondering if you should have replied. You didn't miss the moment. You avoided the mistake. And now I can release the message that carries your miracle, not your mistake. And now, beloved, I need you to listen more closely than you ever have before, not with your ears, but with your spirit, because what I'm about to release into your life requires the kind of sensitivity you only gain after loss, after silence, after the ache of wondering if you missed something divine. Let me be clear. The message you ignored 3 days ago was not meant to break you. It was meant to reveal what no longer belongs in the world I'm building around you. You see, I allowed that message to come through so it could serve as a mirror, not a map. I never needed you to follow it, I needed you to recognize it. Recognize what no longer speaks to your healed heart. Recognize what once tempted you because you were still bleeding, but now has no grip because you've grown. That message wasn't your future. It was the ghost of your former self knocking one last time, hoping you'd answer. And when you didn't, child, when you looked at the phone, the screen, the opportunity, the name, and something in your soul whispered, "Don't go back," you stepped into a new spiritual dimension without even knowing it. And heaven noticed. That moment of hesitation was not weakness. It was spiritual discernment maturing in you. The moment you didn't respond, the moment you chose discomfort over old cycles, the heavens shifted. Your angels took note. The chains of former patterns snapped quietly while you simply walked away. And now, because of that private act of obedience, I am releasing public favor. The kind of favor that doesn't need permission. The kind of breakthrough that doesn't require validation. The kind of elevation that doesn't need you to announce anything. You passed the test in silence, and now I will bless you in ways that make noise. But I need you to stay hidden just a little longer. Don't announce what's coming. Don't go back and open doors I've shut. Don't text back just to be nice. Don't revisit the idea of, "What if?" That message you ignored wasn't random. It was the final call of a version of you that can no longer exist in what I'm preparing. And child, if I let them walk away, if I let that chance slip past, if I let your timing miss theirs, it's because I saw a spiritual entanglement behind it. I saw something in the spirit realm that your eyes could not. You were praying for breakthrough, but what looked like a blessing was actually a loop. A distraction. A delay dressed as divine. I had to let you wonder for a few days so I could reveal just how much power you now carry by choosing peace over closure. You don't need to hear from them again. You don't need an explanation. You don't need to keep replaying that moment. Your obedience broke a cycle that has haunted your family line for generations. And now, you are walking in prophetic authority. You've been anointed in the quiet, chosen in the fire, and crowned in the silence. And everything that didn't come back to you after that message wasn't supposed to. Everything that suddenly faded away was my hand. You didn't lose anything. You were freed. You were spared. You were kept. And now the path ahead is clear. So walk forward with boldness. Speak only when I lead you. And trust that the message you will receive next will not leave you confused, anxious, or drained. It will come with peace. It will echo my voice. And it will lead you out, not deeper in. You passed the test, child. And now, I'm about to send a message that not only sets you free, but shocks everyone who watched you suffer in silence. Stay ready. Heaven is moving. Your yes in the quiet just activated a miracle that can't be undone.